Hey guys, how's everybody doing out there? I am just chilling. My husband is laying down, so I'm not going to be yelling or anything. I'm going to be trying to be a little bit quiet while I chat with you guys. But I just thought I'd come on because I haven't really came on at all today. And chit chat with you guys. The giveaway ends tonight. Hey Rachel, what's up, girl? So if you guys didn't enter into the giveaway, go a couple of videos back and you'll find the giveaway video and it'll tell you how to enter. But I will be announcing the giveaway winner tomorrow morning. So that way I'll make a video. I'll make a video with the person's with their name on it, so that way y'all will know who won. I need to get some water. Is this water right here? Oh yeah, that's water. Never mind. I'm thirsty. And I also met somebody. I want y'all to go follow his YouTube or his channel. Hey Vicky, what's up, girl? What's good, Vicky? What's good? How you doing, sister? Hold on. I'm going to put y'all up here so that way I can sit down in my little chair while I chat with y'all. So, do you guys remember back in like the late 90s, early 2000s when there was like hella pill mills down in Florida? Who's Casey? Casey who, Katie? When you know there's like hella pill mills down in California or down in Florida. Well, there's this dude on here that I found here on TikTok. Y'all got to go watch his story. So, he was like an investor and he would help like build these pain clinics, hire the doctors, get the workers and everything. And he later ended up getting charged with conspiracy and money laundering and went to prison for 8 years. But his story is like super duper interesting. Love watching you and so proud of how far you've come. Since the YouTube days. Yeah, Vicky, yeah. So, when I started out on YouTube, like I had, like maybe 500 people following me on YouTube. That just goes to show you that like anybody can build a following on social media as long as they stay consistent. And that is what I have done over the last like 4 to 5 years. I have made sure that I have consistently posted across all platforms consistently. No matter what, I always try to put out some kind of content to share my story or share other people's stories. That's one thing that I really like doing is having people on to share their stories, because y'all know my story. I've told my story so many times I get tired of hearing it. I get tired of hearing my own story. Does Cindy from YouTube have TikTok? I miss chatting with her. Cindy, are you talking about Cindy Moore? Oh, Cindy Briggs. No, she doesn't have TikTok. She's that's my best friend. I've been trying to get her to make a TikTok account, but she refuses to. Hey, Shell, what's up, girl? So for those of you guys that don't know, I started my YouTube channel back in 2017, and I slowly but surely built a community of people there on YouTube. And I'll tell you this, I'm so glad that I started YouTube first, because it was the hardest platform to gain any kind of followers on. And so it taught me that like being consistent and posting is the best thing for me to do. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I feel like I've had success on these other platforms, because these other platforms are a lot easier to gain followings on. Yeah, YouTube, I pushed hard on YouTube, and it was a lot of work, dude. I went on lots of people's channels. I went on a talk show on national TV. I've been on people's podcasts and stuff, and I just networked, I'll text her and tell her you said hi after I get off here, okay? But that's what it takes whenever you are, sharing your story and you want people to hear your story. You got to network. You got to meet other people in your genre that you can like collaborate with and work with. You know what I mean? I try to post all the live streams that I do here on TikTok onto my YouTube channel. That way, especially when they're about recovery. You know what I mean? So it's posting on social media is just like your recovery. You have to be consistent. If you want to stay sober, you have to consistently do the right thing. You have to consistently prayer, meditation, therapy, meetings, snitching on your addiction, right? All that. So if you can do your recovery, you can do anything on social media. You know what I'm saying? And so every single one of you guys has a story that can be told that can help somebody. You might not believe that. You might not think that your story is important or that anybody will listen. But I promise you, you are authentic and you are yourself. You're original. There's nobody else like you. So what you have to do is you have to hone in on your on the things that you're good at, right? So for me, I honed in on my storytelling. I'm a motherfucking good storyteller, okay? And so I honed in on that and I really started driving it home, you know what I mean? And that's how I gained most of the people that follow me on all my social medias is by sharing my storytelling, you know? And I always try to tell my story. It's serious, but it also is funny. You know what I mean? Because now I can look back on the stupid shit that I did in my active addiction and laugh about it. Like, for instance, like getting set up and going to prison. Dude, what idiot doesn't know? Hey, girl. Hey, Amber. What idiot goes to people's houses who she knows are fucking cops, confidential informants, and sells them meth? Me. This girl right here, like I knew that these chicks were doing something. I didn't know for sure that they were informants, but I knew something was going on. And against my better judgment, against that gut that you have in your stomach that tells you, hey girl, don't do it. I had that gut feeling. I went against my gut feeling and I went ahead and went in anyway. Hey, thanks, Michelle. I got 7 years sober. I just celebrated it last week, Wednesday. And so that was the dumbest, that right there was the dumbest shit I've ever done in my life. And let me tell you guys, I never did dumb shit like that ever again. Like I'm the kind of person that when something goes down, I learn from my mistakes, And so, after that, like I didn't go around delivering dope to people's houses. Like I was only in it for myself. If I was going to get drugs, it wasn't for nobody else but motherfucking me. And I wasn't going like with a bunch of people because I didn't want to be caught up with other people. Because when you have other people caught up with you, then that gives them an opportunity to tell on you, Oh, did you ever hear back from your friend yesterday? Did he ever get gas? So for those of you guys that don't know, I was on a live yesterday and this guy that me and my husband used to hang out with when we were in active addiction showed up on my front porch. I mean, it was so out of nowhere. Like I even called my husband and I was like, dude, Corey is on the front porch. And he's like, what? Why would he stop at our house? And I'm like, no, I didn't see him. I shut the door and I locked it and I came back up here and went live with you guys and I just ignored him. If he came back, I don't know, but he finally ended up leaving. And here's the thing, like he hates me and I hate him. Like it's a mutual hate. And so I know he expected my husband to answer the door when he came by yesterday and it was me. And I know he was disappointed. He was always trying to get my husband to like go out and do stuff behind my back and get high and stuff. That's one reason I didn't like him. Another reason I didn't like him is because he was always fucking stealing shit from my husband. And that really pissed me off. And my husband was nothing but a good friend to this dude. Like, seriously. Like, we were always really good friends to anybody that we were friends with. Even though we were in active addiction, like, we were the people that you could count on. You know what I mean? Like, we were the people that if you asked us to give you a ride, we would give you a ride, and we would come back and get you. We wouldn't leave you hanging. You know what I mean? And a lot of people took advantage of our niceness. Hell no, girl, I wasn't going to let him in. Hell no. No, no, no. Like if it was a different person that I used to get high with, like a girl or somebody like that, I might have let him come in, you know. But, for instance, I don't know if you guys, I've told you all this story, but probably like 2 years ago, my best friend that called CPS on me, she actually called me one day while I was at work, and she was hallucinating. She was hallucinating that there was a man in her home underneath her daughter's bed, having sex with her daughter. And so she called me and she was begging me to come over and go through her house and look and find this person that was supposedly underneath the bed. And I was like, Tara, I can't be coming over there, girl. Like, I'm sober and I know you're fucking high right now. Like, I don't need to be coming over there. And she was crying, like begging me to. All I could think about was her daughter being in that position. So I was like, man, fuck it. So I clocked out of my job and I went by there to check and see what was going on. I hadn't been over to her house in like 5.5 years, right? 5.5 years. So I go over there and sure enough, dude, she answers the door and her eyes are like wild. They're going everywhere. Her poor daughter was crying. Her daughter's was like 12 or 13. And I was like, what's going on? And so she said, you know, the person's underneath the bed. And so I went in the room and I went underneath the bed and I showed her that nobody was there. Then they were behind the curtains. So I went over to the curtains and nobody was there. You know, everywhere I looked, I showed her that nobody was there. Well, then she grabs her phone and she's like, no, I see them. See, look, look. And she has like these cameras set up in her house and the footage goes to her phone. So I look at her phone. Hey, thanks for the fireworks. And I look at her phone and she's pointing to the phone saying, see, they're right there. They're right there. And nobody is there, right? And so I was like, hey, listen, why don't you let me take your daughter and she can stay the night with me for a couple nights and I'll bring her back whenever you sober up. She would not have it. So I ended up having to leave because I had to get my little boy from school. So I left and you'll never guess what happened. So later on that night, she called the police on her daughter, and they took her and her daughter to Children's Hospital, and she had Children's Hospital do a rape kit on her daughter. Now you guys tell me this. How come her kid didn't get taken from her by CPS? Like, I'm telling you guys, this girl she's been crazy for a long time, and somehow, some way, she always gets away with it. Okay? Yeah. So after that happened, it was probably like a year later, she calls me and she's crying and she says, they got my daughter. And I'm like, who? And she's like, CPS got my daughter. And I was like, in my mind, I was thinking, it's about damn time. But I was like, oh, really? What happened? And she was like, I was fostering this boy. Now, when I tell you guys, there is no way that the state of Arkansas approved her to be a foster parent. No way in motherfucking hell. Okay? First of all, she's a felon. Second of all, she lives in a little apartment and they don't have any more room. Third of all, there's no way. It's dirty. It's not livable. It's just disgusting. And so I was like, okay, girl. She would always tell me that she was a foster parent. And I'm like, whatever. So basically what she did was she was taking in little teenagers off the street who were bad, who wouldn't go home to their parents' house. So she had this little boy that she was letting stay over at her house. Well, she went to bed that night and he went out and stole her car and came back with a girl. And when she woke up, she found the little boy on the couch getting head. Okay? So she blew up and got really angry, and the little boy called the police on her. So the police came, and that's when they took her daughter into CPS custody. Okay, now this girl has been smoking crack and doing meth for like 25 years, okay? And I'm just like, oh, damn, that sucks, you know? And she's like, she's telling me that she got put in a home where the lady is starving her, and she's been calling up to CPS and complaining and this, that, and the third. Tell me why 3.5, 4 weeks later, she calls me and she's got her daughter back in her custody. You know why? Are you fucking kidding me? Because her daughter was like 13, 14 years old, and CPS don't want big kids. They want babies. That's why they kept my son. He was a little baby when they got him. Okay? Like, I couldn't believe it. When she called me and told me that she had her daughter back, I was like, there is no way in fucking hell. No way in hell. You know what I mean? Like, it was so crazy to me, y'all. I'm telling you, it was so crazy. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. When I tell you guys, like, first of all, she's crazy as a Betsy bug. Second of all, like, her living conditions, like, she would always keep it super dirty and just not well kept up, you know? She was always getting evicted from apartments and having to move into other ones. I mean, at one point when we were living together in an apartment, that apartment was so disgusting. Like, I cried because I had to live there, and I tried my hardest to clean and pick stuff up. Like, to take a shower, the bathtub was clogged for like 20 months. Like, it was just, when I tell you, it was gross. And so it was bad. And so I couldn't believe it. That's why I truly believe that, like, CPS, they like to kidnap little kids and take people's kids who are young, because they can take young white babies and they can adopt them out and get money for them. I truly believe that. No, I mean, I'm sure I have permanent brain damage from all the drugs I did. You know what I mean? For a while after I got sober, I used to have like these little tics where when I would talk, my mouth would go to the left, like really, really bad, okay? And like where you could notice it. And I didn't know that until my husband pointed it out to me one day. And just little things like that, because my nervous system, from using stimulants for so long, it fucked up my nervous system, you know? But I'm grateful that I ain't got to live like that no more. And that's the truth, man. I'm telling you what, I never want to go back to that life. Ever. Ever.
New visitor.
So, you guys, I need to ask y'all some questions, okay? What kind of videos would you guys like to see from me? What questions? I need some questions. What questions do you guys want me to make like answers to in videos that you guys haven't heard from me yet? Please help me out. Okay? What things do you want to ask me that I haven't talked about or that you don't know about me yet? Anything goes, okay? You can ask me anything. Because I want to make videos that you guys like are interested in watching. You know what I'm saying? Like I've done why I went to prison, what my first day in prison was like, was I gay for the stay in prison, what were my charges, how long did I get, okay, coping skills, for anxiety. Hold on. And trauma. And so, just so y'all know, like, I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but I can share with you my coping skills that help me, okay? Hey, Barbara. I guess questions are, how is your husband doing now after his relapse? Well, he's doing really good. He'll have 2 years sober in December. Are we going to have another baby? No way, Sonia. No. After you stopped using, how long did it take for you to feel good again? Oh, okay. I'll talk about that right now. After you stopped using... Now, let me share something with you all, okay? And please don't get discouraged, all right? I'm glad he's doing good now. Do you want more kids? No, no. I love my son, y'all, but I'm just like, I'm a one kid woman. Like, I'm not a super mom, you know what I mean? Like, some women can handle like multiple children, and I just couldn't do that. But let me tell you guys about how long it took me to feel good, okay? And what I mean by feel good is just be able to function, okay? So, and this is the honest to God truth, all right? I'm 7 years sober and I still don't feel my best. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I'm overweight and I'm trying to work on that and getting healthy. And I think a lot of it, the rest of it has to do with the fact that I just did so much damage to my brain that I just, I might not ever get back, you know? How to get your energy levels back to normal. Honey, I wish I knew. So it took me about 8 months after I got sober to where I started to feel like a human being again. Okay, those first 8 months. Mom, yeah. Can you get me some chips? I was having really bad. Yeah, Nate, they're right downstairs on the counter. I was having really bad using dreams. I was like not being able to sleep. My depression was like really, really bad, and that was because like I said, was coming off all these drugs. So when I got off of substances, you know, I detoxed in a detox, but that's not long enough, you guys. Okay, I was only in detox for like 6 days. So that was nothing. That was nothing. I needed to have like 6-month long treatment, you know, because in treatment, they didn't teach me new coping skills. I had to learn all this on my own. Like, all they teach you in treatment is the 12 steps, okay? And so if I could give you guys any advice, okay, I would tell you when you are getting sober to adopt a healthy regimen, okay? Make sure that you are going out, working out, eating healthy, drinking plenty of water, doing your meditation, going to therapy. So that way that you have a whole health, okay? Because whenever I got sober, what happened to me was my addiction cross addiction. My addiction crossed over to food and sugar, okay? And so I just became addicted to food, and now I have a problem of having to get healthy now. So I always tell people to make sure that you don't do what I did. My son refuses to go in a program. So, Tammy, like, when you have a child that refuses to get help, like, especially if they're over the age of 18, the only other thing you can do is, like, have them committed against their own will. And then, even then, you know, they can make him go to treatment. And if he doesn't want to be there, he's not going to even put in the effort, you know? A lot of the times it takes you disengaging from the person and letting them hit a bottom sufficient enough to make them want to sufficient enough to make them want to change. You know, there are things that he can do, like programs he can do from the house if he absolutely refuses to go inpatient. Like I have the Self Recovery. It's linked in my bio, and it's a program that you can do from your house, from your computer. But he has to be like really dedicated to doing it and actually working through the program. Otherwise, it'll be a waste, you know? Yeah, and here's the thing. Not even like tough love to where what I mean by that is like no longer giving them money. If they're staying with you, you might have to tell them, hey, son, you can't live under my roof as if you're going to still get high. Like, you got to go find somewhere else to live if you're going to continue using drugs. And but I don't mean cut them off from like food and water and stuff like that. I just mean like letting them have their own consequences. You know what I mean? And so, like, if he's using drugs and he's living underneath your roof, it might be smart to tell him, hey, As long as you want to use drugs and alcohol, you're going to have to find yourself somewhere else to live. I'm going to give you 2 weeks to find somewhere else to live, you know? Yeah, setting boundaries. But here's the thing: when we love somebody and we have been trying to help them and save them, hey Ryan, for so long, we become codependent on them. And so when we start putting up these boundaries to try and distance ourselves from them, guess what happens? We start freaking out. We start freaking out because we feel like we're losing control. We feel like we're not helping anymore. And when we help, it gives us this like sense of comfort because we're like, at least we're doing the best we can, right? Believe me, I know. Believe me, I know. It wasn't until I stopped trying to help my significant other and let him kind of like fall on his face that he finally decided to get sober. And it was because I was intervening so much that he was getting away with not reaping the consequences. I kept on intervening. You know what I mean? She says, I tell him this all the time, but he won't leave. So, Tammy, if he won't leave out of your house, girl, you can call the law. Call the law on his ass. Make him realize that you are not playing with him. Okay? Like, he's illegally living there then, squatting. Because I bet you $500, Tammy, I bet you $500 he knows. Yeah, she says that, but she's not going to do anything. I can stay here as long as I want because my mom's a pushover. She won't do anything. She says she'll kick me out, but she won't. And listen to me, Tammy. He sold all his stuff. Next is yours. Next is yours, homegirl. Next, he's me breaking into your bedroom and stealing your jewelry and pawning it. Hey, Amber, it is very hard to stop enabling. Believe it is very, very hard. It's just like, okay, so for instance, I'm trying to learn how to, like, raise my son correctly and stop giving in to everything he wants and actually discipline him the right way. And it's just the same way because my son, even though he's only 8 years old, he knows he can manipulate me and my husband. He knows he can say, Mom, can I get some V-Bucks? He knows I'll say no. But then he knows that he can come back and he'll say, but da 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 da, and I'll bend and I'll get him the V-Bucks. So what I'm teaching him is that what I say don't mean shit and that he can get away with anything he wants. You know what I'm saying? And so it's hard. Believe me, I'm struggling to raise my kid, an 8-year-old. So I understand. It's really hard. It is really hard. So I'm not, and listen to me, like I'm telling you guys this stuff and I struggle too. So please don't think that I'm telling you and being like, see, you need to do that. Like I'm telling you and I struggle with the same thing. Also, like if it's your son and he's living there, like I imagine you're scared, probably scared that if you kick him out that he will uh, die or something like that. I'll tell you this, okay? Don't be afraid to kick him out. Us drug addicts, we will make a way, honey. Every time my parents put me out, which was basically they put me out and I never was allowed back. When they put me out, I found a way. I found a place to stay. I found a couch to sleep on. I found a boyfriend who would take care of me. Yada yada yada. Right? Um, don't be afraid. You know, it's not your responsibility to, be taking care of him while he's getting fucked up like that. And as long as he's getting fucked up underneath your roof, he's saying to himself, he's manipulating you. He knows that mom's going to tell me I have to get out, but then a week later she'll let me back in. You know what I mean? Hey, Christy, what's up, girl? And if you say, okay, if you're gonna stay with me and I'm gonna allow you to live underneath my roof, then you have to get treatment. You know what I mean? and tell them, like, either you get treatment and you can stay here or you get the fuck out, you know? How do I deal with guilt about using while pregnant? Well, the way I deal with it is by helping other people that are going through the same thing. So I talk about my pregnancy a lot. I didn't used to because I was really ashamed and I was afraid of the hate that I was going to get. But now I don't give a fuck what people say. Because nobody can say anything that I haven't said to myself times a million. You know, like I beat my own self up. I'm hard on my own self. I have to carry that with me for the rest of my life, you know? And I know people say, forgive yourself, forgive yourself. It's easier said than done, you know? I'm working on forgiving myself, and the way that I'm working on that is by sharing my story and trying to help other people. That's my way of making an amends and giving back and healing my trauma by helping other people's.
Mom? Can I see if this is a game on your computer?
No, why?
Can I see?
What, Nate? No. I had to get my youngest son, 24-year-old, out of my place. He wasn't paying for anything. Yeah, that happens. And then, and here's the thing, like, I can remember before my parents kicked me out, like many times where I was staying there and I was manipulating and I was, you know, lying about what I was doing. And it wasn't because I didn't love my parents. It wasn't because I wanted to hurt them. That's part of the disease of addiction. Part of the disease of addiction is we are dishonest, and we will do anything to fuel that, to get our drugs. What's up, baby?
Can you get me my chips?
Nate, they're right downstairs. Go grab them.
It's dark.
Nate, go.
It's dark.
I think any behavior issue with my son is because of my use. Do you think the same thing? Yep. I blame myself for everything, girl. Every single thing. I always blame myself. And I have to start, like, learning that not everything is because of me. You know what I mean? But I'm the same way. Yes. Listen to me, Tammy. Him saying, Mom, you always bring me down. That is manipulation, because he's running away from the topic. He doesn't want to deal with it. He doesn't want to face it. Okay? So he's avoiding it. So he is, don't talk about that. Well, guess what? If you don't talk about it, it's not going to get fixed. If you don't, I was the same way. Can we not just have a good day? Can we not just focus on the fact that today I'm sober, Mom and Dad, and it's Christmas and I'm trying to have a good day? Meanwhile, I've been putting my parents through torture and torment for the last 20 years, you know, getting high and fucking showing up to Christmas dinner, nodding out my damn mashed potatoes, you know. Dealing with the fact that you are hurting and harming other people because you're addicted to drugs. No drug addict wants to face that, especially in active addiction. Okay? And a lot of addicts don't even, like, we are so self-centered and so selfish that we think because we're using drugs that the only person we're hurting is ourselves. But you know what? I thought the same thing. I thought, why is everybody tripping, dude? I'm not hurting anybody but myself. This is my life. Why are they tripping? In all actuality, guess what? You're hurting your family. You're driving your family insane. And I didn't realize that. I did not realize that. I didn't realize how bad it hurts to love somebody that struggles with addiction until you know, me and my husband was struggling. You know, that's when I learned that it's really hard to care for somebody that struggles, that is using drugs, because you're in a constant state of fear. You're constantly waiting for the ball to drop. Constantly waiting for the day you pick up the phone and they're overdosed or in prison or wreck the car or burn down the house, you know? Yeah, honey, I used to nod out in all kinds of foods. So, It's really, really difficult whenever you care for somebody. And that's when I learned. Whenever my husband just started to struggle, that's when I really understood the pain of loving a drug addict and caring for somebody that has an addiction. And that made me think even more different and understanding of my parents and other people who love somebody who struggles with addiction. You know? Well, thanks, Stephanie. So are you. He tells me he's leaving, but never does. Well, of course, girl. He probably, of course, why would he want to leave when he can get high, have a roof over his head, have food in his belly? Why would he leave? Why would he leave? You have to make it uncomfortable for him. You know what I'm saying? You have to make it uncomfortable for him. One things my parents would do was they would make me pay rent. They would make me do chores around the house. They would come in my room and all the time and be like, this needs to be done. This needs to be done. Oh, you're laying down on your bed. You need to get up and do this, that, and the third. And They made it to where I was like, fuck this shit. I'm out of here. You know what I mean? I didn't want to live there. So the best thing you can do is get into some kind of Al-Anon. It really helps because then you have other people that you can talk to that are going through the same thing. It's just like Alcoholics Anonymous, but it's for people who love people who struggle with addiction. Yes, I've already talked to my son about that. I tell my son everything. Thanks, I appreciate that. I love you too. I have talked to my son about everything. He knows that he got taken away from me. I have been very open with my son since the day he came home. He came home and he was like 3 years old, I think. And he couldn't really understand then. But since he's been about 5 years old, I have been talking to him about my mistakes I made in my active addiction and how I got him taken away from me because I was an active addict, and that I have been to prison, okay, because I made really bad choices and I was stealing and using drugs and selling drugs. And I share with him the consequences of those actions. My little boy loves me. You know what I mean? I've taught him about the disease of addiction and how the disease of addiction turns a person who is good, like me, into a different person. Okay, so I wasn't the mom that he sees in front of him today. When I was under the influence of drugs and alcohol, I wasn't the way I am today. It made me a different person. It made me do things that I'm not proud of. And that's why I share that with him also, because I tell him, if you never pick up drugs, you never have to worry about doing things that you're not proud of. If you just stay away from it from the beginning, you don't ever have to worry about getting arrested because you were on drugs or stealing stuff or whatever. And so, yeah. You know, Nate's only 8 years old, but he is old enough and smart enough to know when somebody is under the influence. He can tell. He can tell. He can look at somebody when we're in the grocery store. If he sees somebody that's acting different and messed up, he'll go, Mom, that person's on drugs. I can tell. You know what I mean? I mean, he's very, very smart and very, very observant. So yeah, Nate is the same way. He comes with me to do everything. He's been my little right-hand man since I started sharing my story on YouTube, because I started that whenever I first got sober, and I was just like learning how to do everything. And so I would come on YouTube and talk to all my friends about, struggling, being a new mom, and not knowing whether I should do this or that. With my son, I've always gone with what I believe is the right thing to do. Like I would never lie to my son, especially because my platform is about addiction and recovery and my story. And so I would never lie to him, because he could just literally look it up online when he gets older and find out about it.
What? What? What can I find about what?
Who you talking to, Jayla? Because you ain't talking to me, honey. Are you 6 months pregnant? You know, if I lied to him about it, he would just end up hearing it from somebody else. And I would rather be able to tell him and control the narrative than someone else tell him and make it to be something that it's not. You know what I mean? Like, I chose to have my son. Like, I wanted to have my son. You know what I mean? Me and my husband, we knew that we were struggling, but we also knew that we loved each other, and we loved our baby boy, and we wanted to try to do the right thing. And we did try. You know, I tried many, many, many times. Tammy, you can do it, girl. You can do it. Oh, God. You're hilarious, Jayla. See you later. Lord have mercy. Yeah, better to hear it from me. Exactly. Y'all, I don't know who that troll is, but I just blocked them. I promise you, if I was pregnant, y'all would be the first ones to know. What's happening with your oldest daughter? Yeah. And I promise y'all, if I was pregnant, I would be pissed off about it. Because like I told y'all, I don't want to have no more kids. I'd never talked to that person in my life. I went on their account and I looked to see who they are, and I have no idea who this person is. I've never seen them before in my life. I swear, there's some kids that they'll come on when I'm live and they'll say stuff like, "Ooh, that's a nice wig," or they'll just make up stuff and put it in the comments to see how I react to it. And normally I just try to ignore stuff like that. But like, yeah, I promise if I was pregnant, I would have already told y'all because I can't keep secret. And my husband would probably run away because he'd be like, "Hell no." Do you know how expensive Nathaniel is? We can't afford to have another kid. It's expensive having children. That's one of the things that my parents taught me when I was younger, is how expensive it is to have kids. And so I've always wanted to have just like one or two children. But after I had the one, I learned that that's enough for me. It's stressful. It's stressful. It's hard learning how to raise a child, y'all. It ain't easy. It's hard, you know? Um, And as when you're a parent, like, I'm constantly second guessing myself. Hey, Julia. And I'm constantly thinking, am I doing good enough? Am I okay? Am I hurting him? Am I being a good parent? So, Tammy, what I would do if I were you is I would sit down with him when he's of sound mind, and I would say, listen, here's the deal. You either get out or you get help. And what I would do if I were you is I would have a place lined up that you know that he can go into if he's willing to get help. And that's what I would do. And I would have it set up to where I've called this place. If you're willing to get help, they're willing to take you, and have it like that. Because listen, there is nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with you telling him he needs to go. Okay? My mom and dad kicked me out. Okay? They kicked me out. There's nothing wrong with telling him he cannot live underneath your roof. Is he contributing? Is he paying? Is he cleaning? Is he doing anything to help around the house? Or is he just a burden sitting around being fucked up all the time? And if he ends up overdosing in your house or something and you come home and he's dead, you'll never forgive yourself. You know? And if you have other kids in the house, that's also a danger to them,
New visitor.
Oh, really, Julia? can you not help him and become like a power of attorney and help him to not spend it all? Well, honey, that's listen to me. You can't think like that. You can't think like that. If he overdoses on the streets, hopefully he'll be around people who will have Narcan and hit him with the Narcan, you know? I just know for me, like, I had to my parents had to put me out because I was going to give my parents a heart attack. Like, it was affecting my parents' health and their mental health, and it was affecting their marriage. My parents almost got a divorce because of me, because of my addiction, and my mom was lying to my dad and trying to cover for me all the time because she didn't want to get my dad upset. And so it was like I was affecting my family really badly. And so I respect them for putting me out, you know. And I'll be honest with you, when they put me out, it made me take a step back, and I did go to treatment. So they put me out the first time, and I went into treatment. Okay, I went into a 30-day residential treatment program. Then when I got out, I stayed sober for 6 months. So while I was sober, they allowed me to live with them. Okay, then I relapsed, and then they put me out for good. And they wouldn't let me come back because they knew that I was just going to repeat the same thing over and over and over again. So when I relapsed, I ended up catching a possession charge, and I ended up going on probation. When I went on probation, they allowed me to use their address as a place that I lived, but as long as I was using, I couldn't come stay there or anything. Now, every now and then, they'd let me get a shower and get something to eat and stuff like that, but for the most part, they stood their ground, and then I ended up going to prison. And that was probably a huge relief for my parents because at least in prison, they knew that I was, safe and that I wasn't out on the streets. And so I went into prison, and I did a year in prison. When I came out of prison, I paroled out to a place here in Little Rock, and I stayed sober for like 9 months. I was doing the best I've ever done. I got a job working at Kroger. I got promoted to assistant manager in the deli. Like, I was really, really doing good. And I ended up relapsing. When I relapsed, I stayed out until like 2015 when I got sober. Yeah, if he's maybe you talk to him and ask him, hey babe, hey son, if you're willing to, we can get you on Suboxone, or we can get you in the methadone program. Maybe that will help him if he's not willing to do 100% rehab, Even if he does rehab, you guys, like, 30 days of rehab is not long enough. It's not enough time to make a for sure change. Like, if you want your child to be able to get the best benefit of staying sober and changing their life, they need to be in like a 6-month program. No lie. No fucking lie. Because think about it, okay? In 30 days, you're just overcoming your withdrawal. You're just starting to feel like a normal person by 30 days, okay? That first 30 days is just you just getting used to not being on drugs. So you're really not able to take in all the things that you need to learn. That's why when I tell people, like, a lot of people think that I like work for a rehab and I get paid to put people in treatment. No, I don't. And I don't recommend people to go to 30-day residential treatment programs. I recommend at the least to do 90 days, at the least. And after you do those 90 days, I believe that you should be in intensive outpatient treatment and therapy for another 90 days. Okay? Like, legit. But see, that's the problem with the recovery and healthcare industry, is that of course they're going to set you up for failure with 30 days because they want you to continue coming back and relapsing so they can make more money, right? That's why I believe in evidence-based treatment, like medication-assisted treatment, like Suboxone, Vivitrol, Sublocade, Methadone, because you can get on these medications and get into therapy and get into intensive outpatient and be managed medically and be in there for your mind and your brain and your therapy, you know? Oh, that's awesome, Effie. I'm proud of you. Like, let's say Nathaniel, when he got older, he started to struggle with addiction, okay? The first thing I would do is I would get him into a year-long program, a year-long. And I would ship his ass off to a year-long program like Teen Challenge or whatever year-long program I could get him into. That would teach him new coping skills, give him therapy, teach him how to be healthy, eat healthy, work out, get a job, teach him a trade, all that. You know? So, good. I'm glad that my videos have helped you change your mind. Hey, good job, Linda. Good job. You know, I used to think that they were bad too until my back was against the wall and my son got taken away from me. And the state of Arkansas said, if you relapse, we're going to take your rights. And so my back was against the wall. I had to do something different because everything I had done up until that point, I had kept relapsing. So I went to 6 treatment centers, 6 30-day residential treatment programs, and every single one I relapsed after. Why? Because 30 days of residential treatment isn't enough to do shit. Okay? And so if I had stayed in that first treatment center for 6 months to a year and then came out, I would have actually had a fighting chance at maintaining sobriety, you know? When a person is abusing opioids for as long as I did, shooting up the shit, being on them for over 15 years, it changes the way the brain works. And so for a lot of us, being on a small dose of Suboxone or Methadone or Sublocade, it literally makes us normal, okay? So like, it's like a key. Without that key, it's like I'm broken, right? And then you put the key in and you turn it on and it's like, wow, I can function like a normal person. You know, it's a lot different than, like, I don't think people understand, like, opiates are a lot different because of the physical dependency, you know? Don't get me wrong. People abuse things. People will abuse Suboxone. People will abuse their methadone, and that is just something that goes with the territory. But for people who are like me, who have done so much damage, like, I had to have something different than just the 12 steps. I had been working the 12 steps over and over and over again, getting sponsors, going to meetings, doing the 12 steps, praying and meditating, having my higher power for like 10 years. And it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. I believe that people like me have a brain problem. Not only do I have my mental illness that I have, but I also have the mental illness up here for addiction, because addiction centers in our mind. Okay? It's something different in our mind. Something in our mind doesn't click like other people's minds do. Okay? And so that is why I needed more than the 12 steps. That's why I needed to get on medication. Okay? Because no matter what I did in the 12 steps, I was still not clicking up here. You know? And so I try to share that with people who are in 12-step programs to help them to understand. But a lot of them will tell me, oh, you just didn't do the steps right. You didn't pray hard enough. You didn't have a spiritual wake. Honey, what the? I literally used to, When I tell you guys, I was at the fucking meeting, chairing the meeting, working with my sponsor, helping other people. I was at the fucking front of the room, dude. Like, I was there every day, the doors open, telling my story, trying to help everybody I could. And I'm telling you, there's something different. Some people's brains just don't click. And that's what happened to me. And I felt like a failure because I was looking around at all my friends who had gotten sober, and they were working the 12 steps and they were maintaining long-term sobriety. And I was like, why can't I do this? What's wrong with me? You know what I mean? But a lot of my friends that I was seeing do this were friends that only abused alcohol, or friends that they had, they popped pills for like 2 years of their life. And I just think that some people that struggle with mental illness and do like hella damage in their addiction need the extra help with MAT treatment. And so that's why MAT treatment has helped me so much, because first of all, I was ready to get help. I wanted to get help. I wanted to change my life. I just didn't love myself enough to like do it for myself. And so I had to focus on my son and doing it for my son. People will tell you all the time, you can't get sober for nobody else but yourself. Lies from the pit of hell. I got sober for my son. I did not get sober for me. When I got sober for my son. Okay? I didn't love myself. I didn't know how to love myself. Okay? And so I had to use my child as motivation because I hated myself. I hated the person I was. I wanted to kill myself. I did not want to be alive anymore. And so I used Nathaniel, my son, as motivation. I would think about how without me, he wouldn't have a mom. Without me, his whole life would fall apart, because without me, my husband falls apart. Without me, and so that would be both of us falling apart. And then who would he have? He would have his grandparents, But a lot of people will bash that into your brain and tell you can't get sober for anybody else. Like, you can absolutely use somebody else as motivation. And then hopefully, as the longer you stay sober, the more you'll start to love yourself, and then you'll want to stay sober for yourself. And that transition will happen. And I feel like it happens at different times for everybody. But you just gotta stay the course. A lot of times people will get sober, but they won't stay the course, and they give up before the miracle happens, I guess you could say. What, baby?
Can I do something?
What?
I want to make...
Hey, make that all look nice and neat, please.
Do we have a blue berry?
There's root beer right there beside Dad. So, so that's what finally helped me get sober, and I used to beat myself up. Like, I would think I'm not really sober because I'm on Suboxone, and I would believe that what everybody else said. But what I learned is this, okay? I am not the person that I was whenever I was on drugs. I've changed my whole everything, okay? What I believe is that recovery is not about what drugs you're on, what medications you took, or what medications you take. I believe that sobriety and recovery is about what you're changing on the inside and how you're becoming a better person, changing your negative behaviors, giving back to others, and connecting with a power greater than yourself. Like, I believe that you can be on whatever medication you want and be in recovery. I know people who have like 40 years sober, but they have really bad anxiety. So they're on a benzodiazepine and nobody says a damn thing to them. You know what I mean? Yeah, Ashley, that's me. People saying that I'm not sober, just traded one drug for another. Yeah, so a lot of people will say that, okay? A lot of people say that. And this is what I say to people, okay? Just like I was telling you guys before about, like, my brain, our brains, being different, and some of us need extra help because some of us did like damage to our brains that we won't ever be able to change, right? Or we have altered the way our brain operates. And so over time, of course, our brain can heal over time, but it takes time for that to happen. Do you know what I'm saying? And so when people say stuff like that to me, I say this: I'm no longer lying, cheating, and stealing to get my medication. I'm no longer sucking and doing to get my medication. I'm no longer manufacturing methamphetamine. I'm no longer going to prison. And so my life now is so much different than it was in active addiction that nobody can tell me nothing. Okay? The person, like, I've literally changed so much, I'm unrecognizable. Okay? Like, I don't think you guys understand. Like, if you had met me in active addiction, I wouldn't be sitting here trying to help you stay sober. I wouldn't be sitting here trying to teach people about recovery. You know, I'd be running and gunning, honey. You couldn't catch me. That's how fast I was running everywhere, you know? Yeah, I try to. So there's a difference between dependency and addiction. A lot of people are dependent on medications, you guys. Some of us will be dependent on medication for the rest of our lives. I know that I will. I'm on mental health medication, and without that medication, I'm crazy as a Betsy bug. Okay, so I have to take that medication, and I'm not ashamed of that. I would rather be on my Wellbutrin and my Lexapro than be out there getting fucked up and hurting and harming people, because that's what would happen. If I let my mental health go down to the shitter, then I'm most likely going to start getting high over it. Do you know what I'm saying? And so I know today that I can't do that. And so if I have to be dependent on medication to help me maintain, then I'm going to do that. I'm not going to let anybody make me feel less than. So a lot of people have mental health issues, fall girl, and they are self-medicating. That's why they started using drugs in the first place, because they had undiagnosed mental health problems. You know what I mean? So, yeah, don't ever let anybody, first and foremost, if somebody is commenting on your sobriety and telling you whether or not you're clean and sober, I want you to think about that. Thanks, Nettie. I want you to think about that. Who the fuck comments on someone else's recovery? I don't do that. Like, you will never catch me telling you whether or not you are clean or sober or not. One, it's none of my fucking business. Two, when I'm focusing on what you're doing and what you are, guess what I'm doing? I'm taking the focus off of myself. And when I'm not focusing on my recovery and myself, that's when I start slipping. Okay, so when you find people out there commenting on your recovery, I promise you guys, they're just one step away from a fucking relapse, because they're taking the focus off them and the work they need to do and placing it on you because they don't want to work on themselves. And that's what a lot of people do. It's because they don't want to work on themselves. Okay? It's easier to pass judgment on others. It's easier to look down your nose at other people than it is to look within you and change the things about yourself. And 9 times out of 10, when somebody's pointing something out about you that's wrong, it's because they do the same motherfucking thing. True story. If somebody's pointing out something about you, oh, I hate her so much, she does this, that, and the third. It's because it's within them. They're projecting their own insecurities on you. So I learned that too in recovery. I learned that from the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. When we get sober and we're in recovery, we don't focus on anyone else but ourselves, okay? Because taking the focus off of ourselves is a recipe for disaster, you know? How do you know when you're ready to get off of mat? Well, honestly, this is how I feel like I started becoming ready, is when I started to kind of forget about my medication. The focus of my day wasn't me dosing my medication. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I started to kind of forget. and like forget to dose. And so that was kind of like a sign to me. And then my life. So there's like, I don't know how many it is, but there's some things in your life that you need to have stable before you try to do anything. You need to have a stable financial situation, so that way you're not struggling, stable housing, a stable job, no relationship issues, a stable relationship, all right? A steady foundation in recovery with lots of support network. That's all. And stable transportation. So that way you have your transportation, your money, your housing, your relationship, your recovery, all of that is stable and not because if you try to taper or come down when you have all this going on, it's a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for disaster, I'm telling you. 7 years, Chucky, 7 years. And I started tapering in March of 2019. And I tapered all the way down to like literally 0.25. And now I'm just kind of chilling. And here's the honest to God truth, okay? Like I might stay on that little itty bitty 0.25 for the rest of my life. Like for real. Because honestly, you guys, my mental health and the way I am, I'm so scared that I'm honestly scared that I would make a mistake and fuck some shit up. Now, I will tell you this. I jumped off for like 10 days and I was fine. But the main problem I had was my depression and just being super depressed, crying all the time. It was really, really hard for me, man. Really hard. And so part of it helps me. Can I ever relapse again? I mean, sure I could if I wanted to. Sure I could. Hey, Missy, how are you doing, girl? Are you feeling better? I mean, anybody can relapse if they want to. You know what I mean? But I don't want to. For me to relapse, I would have to go out of my way to like go and find drugs because I don't hang out with anybody that does drugs anymore. Okay. Like I have removed all those people from my life. Okay. And all those people. And so I would have to actively go out and seek it. And that to me, when you're doing that, that's you choosing. Okay? That's you choosing because I would actively have to say in my mind, okay, I want to get high on XYZ. Now I need to literally drive into another part of Little Rock where I could go find somebody that I thought was a drug addict because I don't know any, right, that are using. And so I would have to go seek out a stranger, ask them, hey, do you know where I can get some dope? And then they would have to tell me. And then I would have to go get that dope, take it home, get a syringe and prepare it. All this time I have a chance to say, you know what, this isn't a good idea. I need to go back. I need to change. So I would literally be choosing that. You know what I mean? Oh, okay, Missy. Did I ever hear voices? Hello, I was on methamphetamine for like 15 years. I used to hallucinate and talk to people that weren't there. Fucking A, one time I saw my fucking boss, Mr. Maxwell from Kroger. He was at the emergency room that I was at because I was fixing to go into a coma and I didn't know it. And he was there, Miss Frida was there, and Miss Marva was there. So I used to hallucinate all the time, especially whenever my addiction, whenever I met my husband, like 2 years before I met my husband is when I started to hallucinate and like hear voices. And I think honestly, you guys, is because I went from using like red phosphorus dope and anhydrous dope to the dope that they sell now, which is like ice. It looks like crystals, and that's not the kind of methamphetamine that I did when I first started out. I used to do like old school methamphetamine that the like biker gangs and shit would sell, like the real methamphetamine. And then when all this ice and stuff started coming around, that's when I started using after that. And when I started using ice, that's when I started to start hallucinating really bad and like seeing shit. And I couldn't handle it anymore. Hey, what's up, Carla? Hey, Raven, what's up, girl? And it was like a drastic change from when I used to use, yeah, I know, Taylor, when I used to use that kind anhydrous and red phosphorus dope to the way it was when I was using ice. And I don't know what it is about ice, but it would just really make me like, I don't know what, man, it just made me go crazy. That's what I can tell you. It just made me go crazy. Like I couldn't function really well on it. I worked, don't get me wrong. I would go to work, but after like a couple of days, I was no good. I couldn't go to work because I would be talking to people that weren't there. And there's a huge difference, and it's the way it's made and the stuff that's used to make it. I went to work one time after being up for too many days, and I was frying chicken. I remember this lady, she came in and she ordered 100 pieces of chicken, which was totally normal at Kroger. We would always do 100-piece chicken. And so I was talking to somebody that wasn't there while I was frying the chicken, and Mr. Bobby heard me. And so he came over there. He's like, Miss Nicole, I'm going to cover for you. You can just go ahead and go home, and I'll just tell him you wasn't feeling good. Okay, Miss Nicole? And I was like, okay, like, he's like, you just need to go home, get you some rest. And I was like, okay. And so that's what I did. Because I was so fucked up that my husband used to record me because that's how bad I would get, and I wouldn't believe him. He would say, you were talking to so-and-so, you were doing dances, you were, having dreams and talking in your sleep.
You do talk in your sleep.
And saying this, that, and the third.
Yeah,
but it was really bad back then. And so he would video camera me while I was doing it, trying to help me to see what I was doing, because I wouldn't believe him. And I remember one time he video camered me and I saw myself and I just started crying because I looked so crazy. It was really, really sad.
I'm HUNGRY.
Nate, we ate already, son. That's it. We ate already. Okay?
I just want my chips.
Go and grab your chips.
Never.
Yeah, so I'm lucky that my mind came back from it, because a lot of people I know, their minds don't ever come back from it. You know?
Your computer?
But do y'all have any more questions? I'm fixing to get off here because Nate's chomping at the bit. If y'all have any questions, go ahead and ask me and I'll answer y'all's questions before I jump off here. Okay? And so, I want to tell y'all something else. So, I don't tell these stories and talk about stuff like this because I'm proud of it. Okay? Like, I share this stuff because I'm trying to share with people, one, who can relate to me, two, to show people that, hey, you can be fucked up and then get your life back together and stay sober. 3, to let people know that they are not alone and not to be ashamed, because I did it too. Okay? 4, to inspire other people who are maybe still using to want to get sober and get help. You know what I mean? That's why I share my stories. It's not because I'm trying to boast or brag, because I promise you, I am not proud of the things I did in active addiction. I have just gotten to a place in my sobriety where I'm not ashamed anymore. Like, I used to be ashamed and I really couldn't talk about stuff, but I've gotten to a place where now I'm not ashamed. I know what I did was wrong. I know that I can be better. And so that's what I'm doing. Oh yeah, if you guys want to subscribe, that little gold star right there, you can subscribe to my channel. You don't have to. It's just a way you can support me if you want to. Anyway, and I also like sharing because I want to help people who don't know anything about drugs. I want to help those people learn, okay? So let's say you're a mom or a dad of somebody struggling with addiction. I want to make videos to where it can help you navigate what your son or daughter is going through. You know, I also want to make videos about drugs, so that way those of you who don't know about how these substances can affect you, that way you can learn, and maybe that will prevent you from ever wanting to try it. You know, I also want to share information about substances and hepatitis C and stuff like that to help people with harm reduction, so that way they don't end up using syringes behind somebody and get hep C like I did, you know? So that's why I make my videos. I really don't want anyone else to have to go through what I went through, because I might have liked getting high at the beginning, but towards the end of my addiction, it was depressing. I was lonely. I hated myself. Me and my husband were so depressed because we would try to get sober and we kept failing. We kept failing, we kept failing, we kept failing. And we loved each other, and we knew what we were doing was wrong. And we knew we needed to change our lives. We just didn't know how to change our lives and stay changed. It took a lot. It took us going through a lot to learn how to stay sober and stay stopped. Because me and my husband are both poly substance abusers. So we were both addicted to multiple substances, not just opiates. We were addicted to all substances, really. Methamphetamine and benzos, though, the most, with opiates. And so when you have somebody like me and my husband who is addicted to all substances, there's basically nothing that I don't like to do. It's like that's even more work that we have to do to stay sober, because we're not just saying no to, we're not just staying away from opiates, we're staying away from everything. Alcohol too, And so it's hard work, man. We've had to change everything in our lives. Everything. Okay, not one thing could remain the same. We couldn't hang on to anything from our pasts, because our past, hanging on to that shit, is the reason why I would relapse all the time, because I wouldn't let go of those old people, places, and things. Hey, Rose, you're welcome, baby. Anytime, anytime. And, you guys are more than welcome to send me messages or reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook. I'll do the best I can to, help you with whatever I can. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's live. Yeah. And that's why I try to tell people, like, I'm not a doctor or a therapist or a counselor or anything like that, right? But I'm a drug addict, and I got a lot of experience, and I have been sharing my experience for the last 5.5 years, And so I've been working really, really hard. Hold on, Tammy. I got to follow you for you to be able to message me. There you go. Okay. I have been working really hard to learn how to help people the best way I know how. And the fact that I'm not a professional, the fact that I'm not a therapist or a doctor or a counselor, is even better, because I don't have the restrictions that a therapist, a counselor, doctor have on them when working with somebody who has a drug addiction. I'm like your equal. I'm the same as you. And so I can do whatever I want to do when I'm trying to help you. When you're somebody that like works as like a peer or something else, like there's ethics and stuff like that will block you off from being able to do certain things for that person. You know what I mean? And so the fact that I'm not a professional it is good. It is in my favor. Because believe me, I thought about doing like peer support or something like that. But when I have to read into like what all I have to do and the strict shit that you have to abide by, like, it's not my style. You know what I mean? It's not my style. So I would rather just be able to help people, my way that works best for me. And I never, ever, 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 ever tell people, oh, you have to do this. I always give people options. When somebody calls me and they're like, I need help, I don't know what to do, I don't know how to get sober, I always give them options. I say, okay, here's some options. We can do this. We can do that. We can do this. We can do that. And I let them choose. Okay. If they say, Nicole, I want to go to treatment, but I've got bad mental health issues. Okay. Then I know that we need to find them a place that is for people that have a dual diagnosis. Mental health and addiction, right? And I don't just try to shove people into one place because I like that certain place. You know what I mean? Just like I work for a MAT clinic. I don't tell every person that reaches out to me, hey, come to my MAT clinic. Because a lot of people who reach out to me are young. They just started abusing drugs. They just started doing pills. And, I'm not going to be like, oh, you need to get on Suboxone. That's the only way you'll be able to succeed. No, because I don't believe that. I believe that, if you want to try to get sober without MAT, absolutely. I'll support you during that, and I always let people know that, they should reach out to a doctor or a therapist and talk to somebody that is like an addiction specialist, but I will do the best I can to help them on their journey. You know what I'm saying? So I do the best I know how to do, and I've been helping people long enough to know what to do and what not to do. You know what I mean? Where do you live, Ashley? I can help you.
Mom, you're just like on there.
Ashley, I just followed you, so after I end this live, why don't you send me a DM and I'll help you with finding a program in your area. Okay? Yeah, and the program I work for is in California. So, and that's another thing, like the program that I work for is in California. So only California residents can utilize that program for MAT. You know what I mean? And so I can't, that's the other thing that a lot of people like to assume because I am affiliated with that program that I'm just like filtering all these people into that one program. And it's like, no, that's not how it works, Like I would never, ever tell somebody that Suboxone or methadone is the only way that they're going to get sober. I would never pressure anyone to do that. Like I always tell people what the options are and then help them pick, So Louisiana. Okay, girl. There's actually a telemedicine place called recoverydelivered.com that you can do for MAT treatment. But I'm sure if you wanted to do one that's local to your area, that we could find one for you that if you have insurance, that takes your insurance. I know a lot of Suboxone clinics in Louisiana take Medicaid too, and so you could always try that too. But there are people on here and online that will take advantage of you and will try to put you into the treatment center they work for, even though that treatment center might not be the best fit. And so that's why you always got to be careful with who you trust. And you don't ever go to a treatment center that you just Googled. Like you need to make sure that you've read the reviews, that you've talked to people who have been there and you know that it's a good place, because there's bad places, just like anything, there's bad treatment centers, there's treatment centers that are just in it for the money and don't care about you succeeding. So you got to be really careful. So, okay, guys, I'm going to get off here. Ashley, go ahead and send me a message. Anybody else that needs anything, you can message me too. And I will see you guys tomorrow night for our live stream around the same time, okay? So if you enjoyed this live stream tonight, make sure that you come tomorrow night. If you missed this live stream tonight, I'm going to download it and I'm going to upload it to my YouTube channel. If you're not following me on my YouTube channel, you need to go follow me. The link is in my bio. Also, the giveaway ends tonight, so I will announce the winner tomorrow. So if you don't know what the giveaway is, about 5 to 6 videos back, there's a giveaway video. Check it out, do what it says, and then I'll see you guys tomorrow. Okay? Bye.